Welcome to The Charge, a Milligan Athletics Podcast. I'm Brendan Sweeney, your host. This is the first time that we're going through this podcast, which is a lot of fun, super exciting for myself and Hayden Harrell, my graduate assistant, doing the camera work and the producing. So super excited to get into it here. We're going to talk a little bit about the sports that have already gotten underway here this year. This will be the way that our podcast works each week, or every other week when we have this podcast. So the first thing we're going to talk about is volleyball. We have started the season. A couple weeks ago, we had the Milligan Mountain Madness tournament. That was on the 22nd and 23rd of August. Milligan had 5 other schools here over that weekend playing matches, 3 matches on each court, a 2-court setup for both days. So in totality, that was 12 matches that we went through over the last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. So it was a really impressive weekend for a few teams in attendance. Oregon Tech, really, really good team. Blue Mountain Christian, another one. Those two went 5 sets in the final match of the weekend. Oregon Tech ended up pulling that one out. Milligan played both of those schools on day 1, suffered 3-set losses, and then day 2 they played Shawnee State and Faulkner, 3-0 losses in those as well. But there were some strong moments of play that the team can build upon. In the first set against Shawnee State on day 2, they started up 14-6 in that one. So really strong start to that contest. But again, the team this year a little bit younger than it's been in the past. Got quite a few young players, 3 freshmen and 5 sophomores. So 8 players on the roster, underclassmen. So definitely something that they will be looking to kind of learn about over the course of the season, is how they can win matches. Then this last weekend, they went down to Mobile, University of Mobile, and they played 4 matches there, 3 of them counting 1 scrimmage. Dillard and Mobile are the 2 teams they faced on Friday, and they dropped those ones 3-0. Mobile, a nationally ranked team, so a really tough matchup for the Buffaloes in that one. And then on the following day, their 1 counting game was their first win of the year, and that was against Pensacola Christian, which that was a 5-set victory, and the Buffs really kind of came from behind in that one. Were trailing 9-7 in the 5th set, and ended up getting the win 15-10. So really impressive weekend for them to get that win at the end. The freshmen, Aaron Littleton and Taylor Bryn, have played huge roles. Taylor Bryn led the team in kills in that Pensacola Christian win. Aaron Littleton came in second. So 2 really young players making big contributions to start the year. Aaron Littleton has 48 kills so far this season. That leads the team. Shelby Miller was out this last weekend at Mobile, and she'll be back this weekend as they go to Fort Wayne, Indiana for the Liz Laskowski Memorial Tournament. So she will be back. That'll be a really good thing for the Buffaloes. And then Taylor Bryn has 31 kills, 3rd most on the team with a 130 attack percentage. Faith Wilson, sophomore setter, she has taken the reins of that position. She has passed out 125 assists so far this year. Kendall Hodge, the other setter on the team, freshman, has 52 assists this year. Courtney Nye, a transfer from Mott Community College, has come in and has blocked really well recently. Middle blocker, has 13 block assists and 1 solo block so far in 19 sets played. She had 6 of those assisted blocks in 1 match. It was the win against Pensacola Christian, the 5-setter. Outside of that, Aaron Littleton has 11 block assists as well, so she's been really impressive, while Addison Varney, a returning middle, has 9 block assists and 1 solo block. And then Grace Sanderson, who has spent a lot of the time so far this year as the libero for the team, has led the team in digs with 66, averaging 2.87 per set. And then Riley Bryn, a senior, has 60 digs in the same time period, averaging 2.61. Shelby Miller, again, I mentioned this earlier, she's back this weekend at Indiana Tech, where the Buffs will play West Virginia Tech on Friday at 4 p.m., Indiana Tech on Friday at 6 p.m., and then on Saturday it'll be Defiance College at 12 p.m. and the Grenadiers of Indiana Southeast at 4 p.m. That'll bring us on to men's soccer, who have started their season at 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 tie. They tied West Virginia Tech in their season opener at a 1-1 final score, and then SCAD Savannah, they were able to topple by a final of 1-0, and then at Shawnee State, in the 88th minute, they fell 1-0. A goal was given up in the very last moments of that contest. And then Milligan's biggest asset so far for men's soccer on offense has been Kareem Akpinar, who has both of the team's goals. They've scored 2 in 3 games. He had an 87th minute game-winning goal in the victory over SCAD Savannah down in Georgia. It was a blast, a volley from way outside the box, and it found the top right corner past the goaltender, and that was the final tally. That was in the 87th minute. So the Buffs have had a win in the 87th minute and a loss in the 88th minute so far this season. A lot of late decisions in these contests so far. Adria Ayez has been really good in the goal for the Buffaloes. He's had seven saves on 9 shots that he has faced on the year. The man then will play Spartanburg Methodist coming up this weekend on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. kickoff at Anglin Field. And then the Buffs will then play Tennessee Wesleyan again at home on Wednesday, September the 10th at 5 p.m. Before they hit the road for a one-off game against Reinhardt in Waleska, Georgia on the 13th at 7 p.m. And then the final game of the next 2 weeks will be a home battle against Bryan at 7 p.m. on September 17th. So the Buffaloes have a fun schedule ahead, lots of conference games, 4 in the next 2 weeks to keep your eye on and see if they can get back in the win column. Women's soccer is also sporting a 1-1-1 record on the season. Both the men and women kind of just feeling things out to begin the season. They ended up with a victory in their first matchup of the year. It was a 2-0 win over West Virginia Tech. And then they fell in their next contest against number 8 ranked Cumberland's just 1-0. They had an opportunity in that game as well to get a tie in the last couple minutes. A header by Hallie Steele just over a minute left was saved by the goalie and went out for a corner kick, and then Cumberland's was able to get it back and end that one. But the Buffs, really good effort against a highly impressive Patriots team. And then finally, the last game that they've played has been against Dalton State, and that was a 1-1 tie here at Anglin Field on Milligan's campus, as Dalton State scored first very early in the second half, and then the Buffs in the last few minutes tied the score on a Hallie Steele ball into the back of the net on a cross. So Natalie Roper did a nice job on that one, sending that one across for Steele. And so a 1-1 tie, 1-1-1 record. They have Hallie Steele leading the team in goals so far this year. She's got 2 of them. She had the late goal, obviously, against Dalton State, as I just mentioned. Lauren Hockley is the other goal scorer for the Buffaloes this year. She had a penalty kick goal in the win at West Virginia Tech. Natalie Roper and Emily Robinson are the 2 players who have assists this season for the women. Emily Robinson is the goalkeeper, so that's really impressive to have a goalkeeper pulling an assist out of her hat. She was named the AAC's Defensive Player of the Week after the opening week of the season and the 2-0 win against West Virginia Tech. She has faced a barrage of shots over the first couple weeks here in the season. 21 saves on 23 shots faced for an outstanding .913 save percentage. So really impressive from her so far this year. In the AAC, the men's and women's soccer teams play the same opponents. So like I mentioned earlier with the men, it'll be home against Spartanburg Methodist on Saturday at 2 p.m. and then it'll be the nightcap on Wednesday at 7:30 against Tennessee Wesleyan. And then on the road at Reinhardt, they'll play at 5, and then back home against Bryan at 4:30 on the 17th. Cycling, Milligan Track Cycling is underway, and the Track Nationals event is coming up this next week, September 11th through the 14th, as that'll be up in Indianapolis, and it's the first major event of the year for Milligan's cycling team. Cross country is just about to get started. September the 12th, the Queen City Invite will get underway. That's hosted by Queen's University, a Division I school out in Charlotte. And then we'll move on to tennis, and tennis starts their season on September 11th with a matchup against Emory and Henry, the men and women. And then after that, it'll be a trip to Williamsburg, Kentucky for both teams, as they will have duels with Indiana East and Midway. That does it for our 2-week wrap-up rundown of everything happening in Milligan Athletics. We'll be right back in a couple minutes with an interview with Director of Athletics, Christian Pope. Welcome back to The Charge, a Milligan Athletics podcast. We are back with our first interviewee of the year. It is Director of Athletics, Christian Pope, here with us. Christian, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you are. It's a great day.
Doing great. Podcast, first episode. Glad to have you on the first one, just to kick things off with a bang. Christian, tell us a little bit about your journey in athletics and how you ended up here in the end of it.
Interestingly enough, actually, I started off as an elementary school teacher back in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm from Durham originally, and was born and raised and brainwashed to be a Tar Heel from a very young age. So I applied to only one school, which wasn't wise, but I was lucky enough to get in and got my degree in education, and was going to teach elementary school and coach physical education, do different things at that point in time. But after about a year or two of teaching, I couldn't see myself doing that as a 55, 60-year-old man, and really enjoyed athletics, wanted to get involved. A friend of mine worked at CHL, which is UNC's radio station. And so I got involved that way, got to be involved in some interviews, meeting coaches, and just working around athletics, and saw myself doing that and really wanted to pursue it. So I went to Georgia Southern as my pursuit for a master's degree, and they were a great opportunity for me to work in many areas of athletics. Got to work in marketing, in promotions, in development, in operations, in compliance, pretty much you name it. If I was available and wanted to help, they were eager to have all hands on deck. And so I got a lot of bit of trial by fire, but really figured out that this was what I wanted to do as a career path. And my wife and I was married at the time, we were pregnant with our first child. We moved to Chicago for my first paying gig, and thought we could afford Chicago. We really couldn't, so we were only able to be there for about a year. Left there, went to someplace more economical, I say facetiously, because we went to the University of Rhode Island for the next 3 years, which is definitely not cheaper than living in Chicago, but the pay was a little bit better, and we enjoyed ourselves in Rhode Island. Interestingly enough, when you're in Rhode Island, they consider themselves Southern New Englanders. NASCAR is big, country music is big, and a lot of rolling hills and turf farms. It's not concrete jungle like you would picture Boston or New York to be. So we enjoyed our time in Rhode Island, but really wasn't that economical. So we moved closer to home. My wife's from Central Illinois. Took a job at Murray State University. Worked there for about 6 years. Got big for my britches. Wanted to work at a big institution again like I did when I was at UNC. And went to work at Indiana University in Bloomington. Worked there for about a year. Again, it really wasn't the place that we needed to be, so we moved again to Virginia Commonwealth in Richmond, Virginia. Worked there for a couple of years, and was lucky enough to assist getting a basketball team to the Final Four, which was a ride and a half. But for a mid-major school, it was a lot of fun. Left there and went to work for a friend at Campbell University. He hired me there, and just about as soon as I took the job, he was let go. So I was basically at home. It's an hour from my hometown, so we enjoyed living in Lillington for the last 11 years when we got there. And really, Milligan kind of popped up on my radar after about my decade mark of working at Campbell.
Awesome. I mean, that's such an awesome story, and kind of, in your past, the versatility that you've, been in so many different parts of the athletic department, I'm sure has set you up well for your role here.
It's been fun, but it's opened my eyes to a lot of things that, I know that other athletics directors, when they come from one area or one vein of athletics, don't really have an inclination. And I see that specifically in Division I athletics, where some schools are, and at Indiana, Carolina, we're both kind of very much siloed. The compliance office didn't know what marketing was doing. Marketing had no idea what operations was up to. And they would have to meet with each other on a weekly basis just to kind of keep tabs, okay, what's going on in your world, so that they could work well together. And at a small school, it really is more like a family where we're kind of living and breathing together. So as your office is doing things, development's doing things, marketing, everybody's kind of aware and involved with everyone else.
Yeah. That kind of brings me to the question of how come Milligan? Why why was Milligan the place where you decided I'm going to go, down to a small college level and be an athletic director at this level?
Actually, I was discussing with someone earlier today that Milligan really wasn't on my radar. When I was at Campbell, I didn't really know much about Milligan. I was aware of ETSU because at my time at Georgia Southern, ETSU was in our conference in the Southern Conference then, and so we'd come up to what we called the Tin Can for track and field championships.
Mm-hmm.
And their mini domes was what I knew of Johnson City, but was not aware that Milligan even was here. I got a phone call from the headhunter that was assisting them with the search here at Milligan, and he kind of clued me in, said, do your homework, take a look, see what you think. My wife and I started looking over all the information we could find online and via print, and discussing with people what their thoughts were. Found out the church that I was serving as an elder for, one of the other elders, his wife was a cheerleader here at Milligan.
Wow.
So when we mentioned the school, she was beside herself with excitement. She was like, I love Milligan. I'd still be there if I had my druthers. They were living in Lillington, but she loved this place. So that intrigued us quite a bit. We started talking with Dr. Greer, who was our president here at the time, and just information I was able to glean from people that knew things about Milligan, and found out it's very much a place you get called to, not really a place that you seek out. And so athletically, I was intrigued, and in terms of Learfield Cup and the way the teams perform on the field, and also academically. And actually, I could reverse that because they're equally good. I mean, top to bottom, Milligan does things well.
Yeah, I mean, we're already going here in 2025 off to the races with the fall seasons here at Milligan, and but last year you alluded to Learfield Cup standings and a lot of accolades that we had. Let's kind of talk a little bit about what we did last year, some of the things we achieved.
It's interesting because the last 4 years, and this is the beginning of my fifth year, I tell the students I'm a fifth year senior, but still have some coursework to take. I haven't completed all my degree credits yet, so they're not letting me go. But it's interesting, we've picked up steam every single year. And Learfield Cup is kind of an anomaly when you look at it. You score points by how well your teams do in the postseason and how many teams move on and whatnot. So it's not really a clear indication of are you losing a step, are you gaining a step? But in the last 2 years, we've been in the top 10 in the Learfield Cup, and 6th and 7th respectively. So we've had from top to bottom teams that have really stepped up and had phenomenal years on the court, on the pitch, on the field, in the pool, you name it. We've had a lot of national championships, a lot of All-Americans. Our students are doing well, both in the classroom and on the field. So it's kind of a, from an outside perspective and even from an inside perspective, this is the place to be.
Yeah, from a communications side of things, like for me, last year I never wrote a story about a bottom dweller. I mean, there was no team on our campus was at the very bottom of the standings, just really struggling. Every one of our teams was competitive, and many of them for championships. So huge thing for someone in communications like me. It's always hard to write about teams that are not doing very well, and it's much easier when there's a lot of positivity going on the field, court, or the track. So.
Yeah, it may sound selfish, and I hate for you to feel like we're overworking you, but I want you busy. And if you had nothing to write about because we weren't doing well, that would be a telltale sign that we need to change some things.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I as a department, that kind of pushes us into this next topic, which is the coaches that we have. It's just a really talented group from top to bottom. We've got a couple new faces and then several that have been here for over a decade. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the new faces and then those who've been here for a while.
Well, I'll actually reverse the order on you a little bit.
Oh, that's fine.
I do want to mention Wes Holly. I don't know if our viewers will know, but he passed recently, and he had his homecoming. We're sad that he's no longer with us, but he established a legacy in the sport of softball here. And so, one of the new coaches that's coming in, Cassie Fortner, has got some big shoes to fill, although she, and I don't mean this in a bad way, is a Spitfire. I think she's going to do very, very well. She's hit the ground running. She knows what she needs. She knows what she wants to do, and she's meshed well with the team. And I think that's something that our coaches do well overall, and not to call anyone out, but all of our coaches have instilled a really good team culture. The chemistry of our teams is very solid. You won't really see a lot of teams where there's a dynamic of their small cliques that kind of get together and don't do things as a group. Our teams all seem to gel very well, regardless of the size of the roster. So that's impressive. But obviously she's brand spanking new. We're in the middle of finding a new swim coach, and so that will be a new coach. But at this point in time, we haven't identified our final candidate. We're still working on that. As far as coaches that have been here a long, long time, obviously, besides Wes, we've got Tony Wallingford, Chris Lane, Doneva Bays, who have been ticking for quite a while. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's not like they're 75 years old, because they're not. They're still young, vibrant, and able to speak that our student athletes talk. And I think that's part of it too. I mean, I hear people, especially in my world, the athletics and the administrative side, say, well, yeah, the students all stay 17, 18, and we get a year older. And I know that some try and step away when they feel like they can't relate. I don't know how you don't relate.
Yeah.
If you're around those people that keep you young, you stay young. And so at some point in time, I'm sure one of our student athletes will say, what do you need, old man? And they'll be talking to me. And I'll look around like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
But I'm still, 25 inside.
Yeah, we like I said earlier. I mean, across the board, our coaches are successful, and that's from an athletic standpoint, and also just building servant leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the big goals at Milligan, and we always strive to meet that goal. So, I think for Milligan, being as competitive as they are at the NAI level is really impressive, and it's obviously a testament to you and to our whole department and the work that we all do. Why do you think it's so important for an institution like Milligan to have a really successful athletic department in addition to the academic side?
I think it's important, and you'll hear people talk about the front porch of a university, and it is one of the most glaring things that a university can either ignore or purport. If a school does well athletically, people are talking about it. I mentioned to Hayden earlier today, we were talking about just the fact that people are a sports-driven culture. And when you think about it, even back to the Roman times, people are going to pay for food, they're going to pay for shelter, and they're going to pay for entertainment. And so it's one of the three stool pillars for most people is, what am I interested in? And sports kind of fills the bill for so many in that vein. And so when you look at what Milligan has and what we've been able to do, it's not that we have the most. We don't have the resources that a UT will have, but what we do have, we've maximized. And I think that's been a good thing, is when you look at the AAC, and I look at my peers within our conference and even outside on the NAI level, Milligan is looked at as if we are just sitting on a stack of cash, and we're not. But it's basically because when we do something, we try and do it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're trying to spend a lot of money on certain things. It's just when we do something, we want to do it well. And that kind of gets back to, you hear John Wooden quotes about, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when are you going to be able to do it again? We try and make sure when we do it the first time, we do it well. And obviously, like any organization, we'll stub our toe and we'll have opportunities where we've fallen short and we need to try again. But we try and minimize those as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, that's the case for all institutions. And even the schools at the Division I level, the mid-majors, the Power Fours, like those schools, even they have those sorts of little things that are shortcomings. So
most definitely.
You just try to do your very best with every possible moment you have to make it better. So, and that's what we do here at Milligan.
Amen.
Well, Christian, thank you so much for your time. I know you got to run. So. And that will do it for our very first episode of The Charge, a Milligan Athletics podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Sweeney, and we will see you next time.